Now we're live on YouTube. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started soon, and I'm going to let the people in a
Okay.
moment. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Non-Duality Live. We have a back-to-back Wednesday. We're going to start with Don. Hello, Don.
Hi everyone.
We have an hour, and then afterwards we have Richard. And if you have any questions, you can raise your hand. If you have questions on YouTube, I can read it for you. And welcome, Don.
Right. So start with a quick intro. Um,
Did you even check today? Just, I guess I don't need to check.
You would have to unmute yourself now, Don. Sorry, I had to mute everyone. There we go.
okay. So hi everyone again. so non-dual seeing is the seeing that there is no one. It's the end of the boundary line between the character and everything that's arising. So it's the seeing of nothing and everything, form and the formless. And the essence of this is love, unconditional love. So everywhere is home, basically. So it's rest. This is absolute rest. It's coming into where you are. So it's being where you are. So in a sense, nothing changes, experience continues. Only no one is having an experience, which is much sweeter. So experientially, life continues, but life continues for no one. So, and the awakening itself to this, though that in itself is a story, often happens with two events. One is a seeing of emptiness, which is just seeing that there is absolutely nothing. No objects, no table, no chair, no person. And at the same time, everything appearing in that emptiness so that it's all collapsed into one. And so the identification with the mind falls away and it's seen to be arising all by itself. So thoughts appear and thoughts disappear, but no one is owning that. No one is owning the person either. And that feels different, and it's seen that there's no one actually here. So there's absolutely, it feels very different in a sense. It just feels like an empty space, which is hard to describe, impossible to describe actually. And but the seeing of emptiness can be, it's not a pleasurable nor an unpleasurable experience. It's just a shift in a sense. It's the only way to explain it is really a shift from experiencing location as in someone here, that goes. There is no location for being, which is mysterious, and that is not replaced by anything else. So all the motivation, or some motivation, can go out of life, because it's very much like being in life but not of life. It's kind of going through the motions of life, and that in itself can be a relief, certainly a relief from endless doing whatever. The seeing of love is very powerful. It's joyous, joy for no one. So it's causeless joy, it's unowned, and it's the ultimate fulfillment. So it's like all desires being realized at once. It's everything is seen as it is in its perfection, which is a quality that has no opposite. It is literally seen, and it's literally known, so that in every face almost, it's just the perfection is seen. In every flower and every object, there's this just inherent beauty and stillness at the heart of everything. So the result of that is a tendency to want to actually rest in this rest, and just to absorb it, because the mind has let go of, it's the end of the tyranny of mind, in a sense. So it's just being able to be where you are and absorb, in a state of absorption, and to observe, and there's an aloveness with everything. So the tree, and what there's something about being in nature with this which is particularly juicy, although it's everywhere. So it's on the road, it's in the marketplace, it's everywhere really. And so the ego, if you like, or the sense of ownership, the whole sort of time-based reality kind of falls away. And if it appears, it's in the background. So that time-based identity is no longer relevant, in a sense, although it can come up. So time can appear in the timeless, but it's not who you are. So, and there is no answer to who you are. So there's just basically just this. And so it's the end of seeking, and the end of strangeness and strangers, but anything can occur afterwards. Fears can come up and go, the story comes up and it falls away, but all that tends to be in the background. So, and we were born into this, we're born into wholeness, and it gets forgotten. So it's a remembrance, in a sense, in one sense. And it's frustrating when you're looking for this, because there's nothing you can do, because it's realized there's no one who can do anything. There's no one who can bring this about. So in a way, no matter what's going on for you, there's, obviously there's intelligence here, so there's change can happen, but there's no one who can make that happen. But if we know what to do, we may or may not change things. So it's the end of all identity. And sometimes we can get a taste of this, there are glimpses, or we can just slide into this. And sometimes it can happen as quite a shock as well, if it happens all at once, particularly if there's been a lot of suffering. But it's like stepping from one life into another without the shock of the other, because it's so completely grounded that there's not a glancing back in a sense. There's not really a kind of, oh my God, or thought about that. The thoughts can arise about that, but it's really such a surrender by no one, so that it's beyond reflection in a sense. It's so yeah, so and it's the end of authority in a sense as well. So authority starts to crumble in this, so that the one at the front of the room who's speaking is no longer seen as wisdom. Wisdom is everyone has access to that. It's nothing to do with wisdom. It's beyond wisdom. And it's obviously because it's beyond the mind. And so it's the end of specialness and the end of self-obsession, which is a great relief. And the fear of death tends to collapse in this as well, so that, which takes the sting out of life to a certain extent. No doubt when death is faced, fear might come up, but it doesn't have the same hold as it did. So it's a kind of grace, it's a kind of undeserved. I think that pretty much covers it. If anybody wants to ask any questions.
There's a question here from a son. He asked, where does the source begin?
Speaking about a source, there isn't really a source. There's no beginning and there's no end. So there's just what's occurring. There isn't, it doesn't make sense to talk about a source in a way. It's just, there's just life happening. There's just what's occurring in now, and memory might appear in now, or the idea of a source or whatever, but it's not about a source. It's about the end of beginnings and the end of endings. It's about being where you are. So
Question from Frank from YouTube. Are there scientific truths?
Yeah, there certainly are scientific truths. Yeah, there are. Yeah, they appear in this. And there are all sorts of truths that appear in that. They're all to do with the mind, and that exists. Yes, and yeah. What else to say about that? Yeah. So nothing really changes in a way. So life goes on as before. There's scientific truths, there's life, there's relationships appearing, but ultimately there are no relationships because it's just one thing. So that the appearance of the many occurs in the one. But for the person or for the character that continues relationships and continues just as before, but it's experienced differently, very differently. So I say very, it's subtle and it's kind of deep as well at the same time, because experientially everything is happening here now without there being a here, and there's not really a now either, like, but so the relationship appears, there's relating, and it changes relating as well, because it's intimacy is restored to life. So there's a kind of merging with whatever occurs or whatever appears. So when you're with somebody, it's that veil of separation isn't there, so that there's true relating in a sense. It's it doesn't feel other. It feels, yeah, it's just one thing happening. So it's there's just a total kind of being with the other, which is kind of nice, kind of sweet. That's the sweetness of it. Because that's what it's about. At the end of the day, it's just the sweetness of coming home, and everywhere is a homecoming. So very nice. Most of the time it's very nice. No.
Question here from Hassan. Do you still have passions after liberation?
Passions, it's funny because for a long time there wasn't any. Passions a word that maybe I wouldn't use, because everything seems to flow in a different way than that. So it's I think during the kind of honeymoon period, there's a loss of interest in any kind of doing, in a sense. And in any case, the doing and the being merge. So to get passionate about something is kind of alien, but there are interests, and I think there's more of being in the being in the moment. Kind of, if you are interested in something or really passionate about something, it'll be just more organic, kind of moving towards a goal, or being, being with it, being with the process of something. So it's there's not the same kind of frenzied passion as there was. So I think because a lot of fantasy is kind of removed, it's kind of more real, it's more immediate, rather than, I think the head creates a lot of excitement because it tends to go off into fantasy land or whatever. So it's there's more of a natural kind of unfolding of things, rather than a kind of excitement, because excitement itself is kind of unbalancing to a certain extent as well. It could be a relief to be kind of rid of that. So, but yeah, I mean, in a sense, you can still be passionate about stuff. I like reading and stuff, but for a long time I wasn't interested in that because it just seemed so small and too much effort. Because I think it reverses, because just sitting was such an effort before. It wasn't something pleasant. So that kind of reverses. Sitting becomes I'm very passionate about sitting. I became very passionate about sitting. So yeah.
Question here. Is it a state? If not, then what?
State. Well, the state makes you think of coming and going. So it's not a state. It's just seeing things how they are. So it's more fundamental than that. It's just a kind of correction in a way. You're just seeing things how they are, and states come and go within that. They, just as states came and went before, there is a before and after in the story of time. But so yes, there can be states within this, like states of samadhi, states of deeper kind of, that I describe as kind of drunkenness. So the juiciness can increase or decrease, and just as so there are variations, but the sense of constriction, the sense of here and there, never returns. That's gone, even if suffering arises, even if fear arises or something horrible happens. It's still, it doesn't mean a contraction. It's happening without that. It's still just oneness. experiencing, fear or yeah, whatever. So
Rakesh has a question. Go ahead, Rakesh, and unmute yourself.
Hi Rakesh.
Hey, Dawn. You all right?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Uh,
Just a question following on from the question about passions. Did you find that seeing as realization has sometimes been described as quite ordinary and natural, that there wasn't even a motivation or desire to even talk about it for a while?
I wouldn't say the desire to talk about it wasn't there. Like, I did, but I just found that nobody wanted to hear. So there was for me a desire to talk about it. Just, I mean, not publicly, definitely not, because I had no idea. I knew, something had shifted, but I didn't know what, and I knew, so I didn't talk about it for a long time. In that sense, do you mean publicly or do you mean just in general?
In general, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of did. I did a bit. I did, and actually sometimes when I did mention it, it was quite nice that the person I was talking to, my partner at the time, wasn't interested, so I just talked about it. Like he did sort of like put up with it. But yeah, it was, yeah, there was talking about it, not very often. I mean, that stopped very soon because I realized nobody wanted to know, and in any case, I didn't really understand what had happened. I'd only really gotten into non-duality for, I don't know, maybe a couple of months or something. I didn't quite get, I don't know, I was so empty, like this, so there was no thought at all in a way. So there wasn't really a trying to make sense of it in a way, but there was just a blown away peace. So a lot of the time I spent on my own, actually. I spent a lot of time sitting in the local cemetery, which is kind of leafy and lovely, and sitting on my balcony, just staring at the sky. Those were the, that's the best way to enjoy this. Is that what happened? Because with you, or not wanting to talk about it, or because you've
no, I think with me, because I still feel this sense of free will and meanness. But there seems to be sometimes with a certain realization or something, and then I'm like, but of course this is already the case. So is there anything even worth realizing? So sometimes that comes up, and especially when I'm in a stillness, then any concept or anything conceptual just feels like a movement, like an effort from stillness. Like
I get, like, yeah. Oh yeah, I totally get that. I like it. Not it's hard to describe that as well. You say a movement from stillness, because in a way it's not, like, it's so still. Even that movement is stillness, and it's so obvious. But yeah, that it's almost like less effort. The less the better. So no speech, just sitting and just being in a state of utter absorption is just, it's sublime. It's just, so in a way, and also because it does seem smaller. Anything conceptual seems smaller and irrelevant, and can't, it just can't touch this. So like your interest in the world can completely collapse. And anything that's because I was so into intrigue, and I really like drama and stuff, and that is, just gone. That's just gone. And yeah, that's the real shock. But of course, then you kind of have to get involved in life, don't you? And yeah, which I know what you mean. It seems like an effort in a sense, you know, and kind of unnatural, because the natural, you could just sit by the road and forever, like you just could, it you know, for a long, long time. But the desire to kind of come back to life a bit, you know, comes back, I think, for most people. And for me, it took, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe more, but still there is something again, like as soon as the being, or I think I've mentioned before, like being in queues and stuff where there's nothing you can do, you can really sink into that stillness, and that's quite amazing. It seems to like that oneness, seems to like, you know, that inactivity in a way. It's like it's not like the awakening is deeper. That's just awakeness is just the case, but some of the states within that certainly deepen. The drunkenness can deepen, you know, the rest can deepen, which for me was the most amazing thing of it anyway. It was just that rest, not you know, not the not being there, because part of emptiness, or seeing an emptiness with that no one here, wasn't exactly exciting to me or anything. It was just, oh, there's no one here. It was just a recognition of that. And it wasn't, I didn't want to talk about, there was nothing to talk about. In fact, I didn't talk about that until I realized Unconditional Love had been seen. And then it sort of came back to me that year, the year of like being in the desert, like, and the thoughts I had at the time, oh, right, I could see that the mind was just doing its own thing and the body wasn't here. And there's, you know, but that left me kind of cold in a way. Well, not, you know, that's probably too strong a way of putting it, but yeah. So yeah, when speech happened, but there wasn't anything, I couldn't really be interested in anything else for a long time though. So I suppose speaking about it was sinking in. If I was going to speak about anything, speaking about this was sinking into it as well, more in a way. But talking about anything else, I just, like, how can you be interested in anything apart from this, you know? So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. That really helps.
Okay, cheers.
There's a question here from Alejandra. Is it possible that empathy becomes more difficult to experience after awakening?
Empathy. I wonder if they're talking about something specific, because I mean, there's more space. I mean, there's just more space for empathy in a sense, and I think more compassion, because suffering is seen more clearly, because in a sense you've stepped out of suffering, the ongoing suffering, the kind of for me it was kind of pretty much 24/7, and stepping out of that, so that when people talk about it, it's like you can kind of see it more objectively. It's like, oh my God, you know, life, even without like serious depression or anything else, it's just so difficult, and it doesn't necessarily make it easy afterwards, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier. But it's, yeah, so I think empathy increases if you have it to start off with. If you don't, well, maybe it doesn't. But somebody knocking my door, I don't just ignore that. Yeah, so if I knew more about it, what he's getting at, or she, or
If you want to add there, Alejandra, if you want to unmute yourself, if you want to add to that question.
Okay. Hi. Do you hear me properly?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Don, and everyone.
Oh,
Very
hi.
nice to be here. Yeah, it's. I understand the compassion thing, which I let's say I did have some sort of experience or awakening, or someone, or no one had an awakening, whatever. But the question is, now when I'm with friends and they are going through dramatic experiences or through painful stuff, I find it more difficult to put myself into their shoes. All right. It's like I feel compassion for everyone. Like, I wish you could see what I see, like this, that. But the individuals coming to me and experiencing things that before I could relate to, now I find difficult to get close to that. It's like, yeah, I understand it and the suffering, but I cannot suffer with them. So I hope it's not a question of detachment. It's just the particular experience of pain does not relate to me anymore as it did before. If that makes sense. Okay, I don't hear anything anymore.
I have a feeling that
Okay, now I'm sorry. How much of my
oh, Don
nonsense
is.
did you?
I'm not sure what happened to Don. This is Emerson.
Yeah, I think yeah, something happened there.
We'll
It
just
might have
wait
been
for a
me.
moment.
So is the host gone as well now?
I'm
Everybody
here.
gone. Ah, sweet.
I'm just trying to find out what happened to Dawn because she's not in the link anymore. Um, let me just call her. Let me just email her for a moment. Okay, and I'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Um, Unfortunately, Dawn has lost her power in her computer. So if you have any questions, I can ask them. I can answer them. I didn't know what you were asking, but we'll just continue until she said that it's going to take about 30 minutes for her power to come back on. Um, this apparently happens too, so I apologize for that. Richard's coming on in 30 minutes.
No, we can chat a bit about things happening, not happening. Why not?
So maybe can you answer the question of
Sure, I can
Alejandra?
do that. Yeah. I don't know which question is it. Okay, I'll just pick a question from YouTube, and I'll respond to that. There's a question here. This is hilarious. Sorry, everyone.
Well, Alejandra had a question. Maybe we could chat a
Yeah,
bit.
Alejandra, please go ahead. Yeah,
Repeat
we
in
can.
short what you were
Yeah,
asking.
Yeah,
sure.
sure. Go
Hi.
ahead. Hi.
I don't know how much of my rambling was I able to express. The thing was, it's about empathy,
Empathy.
which is not
Okay.
this empathy, which is not the same as compassion, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Empathy is more putting yourself into someone else's position, right?
Okay.
Which is a natural thing to do unless you have some sort of pathology or
Yeah.
so before with my friends or my loved ones, I was very much able to put myself in their position, whether it was for a big thing or not that a big thing. Now
Okay.
I understand the question, I understand the drama, I understand the film, but I cannot put myself as much as I used to in their position. Although I do feel more compassion for people I don't even know, I don't even care
Okay.
about, people crossing the road and it's like,
Okay.
oh my, you don't know.
Mm.
But I cannot myself, like as I, that's it. And I was wondering, is that a thing? Or is this me?
It's just what's happening. There's no you for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's just what's arising. So everything that's arising is just appearing simultaneously, and also disappears simultaneously. So all of these is just ideas of something that doesn't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
compassion is just the word, empathy is just the word, and it's something that just arises. So trying to kind of like trying to make a story out of it is just what's happening. Yeah.
Okay. It's just it makes
Okay.
sometimes relationships a bit more difficult because you have to pretend.
Apparently. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
There
for
are no
me,
relationships though.
for me,
Yeah,
for my
but there.
human.
Yeah, there are no relationships, but they're only a parent relationship, right? So whatever
Sure.
arises is pretending also happens, but everything is just as is. So to try to make it into something that it's not is just an idea as well. So everything arises kind of like a sense that there's a relationship, a sense of empathy, compassion, all that kind of stuff. It's
Okay.
perfection. It's
Okay.
wholeness appearing as whatever.
So it's okay too.
Yeah, it's all right. That's a long
I'm not
answer
a
to say it.
monster.
No, no one's a
I'm not.
monster.
I'm not. Yeah, sure, sure.
No,
You know
no.
what I mean. Good, good. Thank you.
God's plan. Please go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to what you guys are talking about, that
Mm.
I think it has to do with, like, as we progress on this, like the not relating to people as much anymore thing. I mean, does that resonate?
Not really, because it's another story. You know what I'm saying? It's just trying to kind of like be, it's just a
Yeah, yeah.
reinforcement of I am here, so I can reinforce you. It feels like a little bit like specialness.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like the me has gone underground and I'm a no me now, so I can't relate to other people anymore.
Like the feeling of like feeling like an alien almost, right?
Yeah, it's just another story. It's just another kind of like
Yeah, it's all just
reinforcement.
nonsense.
Yeah. If it seems to be happening that way, then that's what it is, right? It's just what is.
Right.
But
In the
trying to
moment.
kind of like, there's no moments really. It's just what's happening. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
All right. Okay. Okay. Um, Emerson, do you still have new realizations about non-duality? And if so, what is the latest realizing going on? First, there's no Emerson to realize anything, and there's really no non-duality. Non-duality is just another idea. There's no such thing as non-duality. There's no such thing as Emerson. Non-duality is just a term that we say not two, but that's just another idea as well. Is Hassan goes, is consciousness everything? Uh, no, consciousness is another idea again. It's just everything is just another thought. So all of this coming up, with consciousness awareness stems from a me. I have consciousness, everything that's dreamt up by a me is an illusion. Question. Uh, just a moment here. There's some questions here. Emerson, can you talk about unconditional love? This always gets asked. Unconditional love is unknowable because the me or the character only knows in conditions. It only knows conditional love. It only knows ideas about what love is. So when unconditional love is being expressed or being talked about, it can't be known. People have an idea that unconditional love is compassion or ultimate. It's like an attainment. Unconditional love is nothing being everything, appearing as complete wholeness. So there's nothing missing. Emerson, can you talk about free will? It's just really simple, right? So what's being expressed here is the obviousness that there's never been anyone here. So if there's never been anyone here, there's no one that has a free will. There's a free will apparently happening, but it's not happening to this dream. This is a dream. This is like a dream. So everything that a cause and effect, you and I, here and there, others, we appears in this wholeness, in this emptiness appearing as this. So there's no one in emptiness. So there's no cause and effect. So there's no free will. uh, can you talk about death? Again, death is just another idea. It's just another concept. There's no such thing as death because the one that thinks that there's death is also an idea. It's also this felt sense of realness here. It's the unreal appearing as this real, felt sense of real, but it's nothing happening. So there's no beginning and there's no end. There's no alpha or omega. So there's no such thing as birth or there's no such thing as death. It's just an idea. It's just a dream. Question here. Doesn't all this talking just feed the seeking? There's actually no one talking here, and there's no one seeking. So it's not really feeding anything. That's just another idea that this talking is feeding seeking. What's being expressed here is just really clearly is just quite simple. that there's nothing outside of this. This is already full and complete, or as Rosa would say it, pure perfection already. God's plan.
So, in regards to the death question, it made me
Sure.
think about, do you, or well, I don't want to say do you believe, but um, will death come in cohesion with our last thought, if that makes sense?
There's no one that dies, right? So there's no thoughts. There's no before or after. What's being expressed here is just full and completely that there's only this. So that's just an idea about cohesion or last thought. There's no last thought. That's just a another thought.
So, what does that leave us with?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I
This
wanted
is
to say.
nothing. Okay, thank you. Does the me energy drop for no reason at all? There's really no me, so there's really nothing that drops. What is the me? The me is really nothing. It's really nothing. In the story, there's a me, there's this felt sense that I am real, that I am moving through time and space, that the me is dropping away, or I think that the me is special now, or there's no me now. But all of those are illusions. There's never been a me. So so this is just what's happening. This is what's apparently happening is there's this apparent unreal and real appearing simultaneously with no gaps whatsoever. And in that appearance, there's seemingly a felt sense of reality that I am real, but kind of like a dream, like a nighttime dream. Everything that you dreamt up, everything that you've seen in an apparent night sleep. No one goes to sleep and no one wakes up. It's just apparent. It's just an appearance. The moment that you apparently wake up in after dreaming at night, everything disappears. Everything that you dreamt at night is really nothing. There is no one that wakes up and no one that sleeps. So this is like a continuous dream, but no one's dreaming it. It's just a dream. And nothing really ever happens in a dream. And there's never really been anyone in a dream. So the seeing here is that this is just full and completely a mystery. It's unknowable. Oh, just a second. Okay, Dawn is just messaging me here. Yeah, she's not going to be back. It might take hours, she said, to come back. So my apologies for that. Emerson, you're too harsh. It's just what's happening. Question here. Mike is an illusion. Everything is, really. If nothing is being everything, appearing as this realness, appearing as this whatever it is that's appearing, um, then everything is. We don't really have any words for it, right? What's being described here is wordless. It doesn't have any meaning or purpose. It doesn't have any kind of path. There's nothing to seek, there's nothing to find. It's just this freedom already. This is unconditional freedom already, appearing as whatever it is. It could appear as anxiety, it could appear as confusion, it could appear as everything and anything. But what's appearing here is just clarity that there's never been anyone here. Someone said that it's very windy in UK right now, so Dawn's electricity may have blown away. That could have happened. Um, Someone said that words are using us. Actually, there's no words. These words are meaningless. So this is silence appearing as words. So everything that I'm saying doesn't really have any meaning, doesn't really have any purpose. What's being expressed here is simply that this is already full and complete. This is already wholeness. But I can't really say that in words, so that's why I try to dance around it. So all of these words are completely meaningless. It's trying to point into the wordlessness. This is wordless. There's some pretty cheeky comments here on YouTube. Question here. Oh, there's Eric. So Eric, go ahead.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Eric. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Awesome. Don't have any question. It's just I always enjoy getting the chance to say hi. So hi.
Hi.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's like no cause and effect, and nothing alters anything, and there's no one here to be altered or anything. But there appears to have been this serious reduction in questions, and
That's what's appearing. Yeah.
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 So the videos of non-duality appeared at a similar time. There's no causation or correlation,
No.
but I just find it, it's like a great big nothing happening. Like I'm just sitting here and there's nothing else to talk about.
Bingo. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just nothing really happening. And there's just this emptiness appearing as everything. It's empty fullness. It's just this emptiness. So what's speaking here is emptiness appearing as whatever. There's no one hearing this. There's no one that's speaking this. This is just complete wholeness appearing as separation. This is seemingly like a dream of separateness, but there's no one dreaming it. So this is just completeness and fullness and perfection, unconditional love, unconditional freedom. All of these words trying to point out to something that can't really be fully described, because trying to describe it sometimes really muddies it. But I get what you're saying, that there's just this happening and nothing is really happening.
Yeah, I think Ariana said everything is ice cream, or
Or not ice cream.
yeah, or not. Yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, it's just great to be here, and thanks again for hosting these, and nice to
Of
see you
course.
again, Emerson.
Nice to see you too, Eric. Nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. There's a question here. Just a second. I can understand no free will, as any action is seemingly caused by external factors, but maybe there's still a cause and effect. No, because it's just again, cause and effect seems to happen, like seems to happen, but there's no before or after. There's no here and there. There's no one doing anything. So everything that's seemingly happening is just this simultaneously and spontaneously happening. It's not happening to anyone. It's just stillness appearing as movements. Stillness appearing as cause and effect. Kind of like when you're dreaming at night, there's a cause and effect. It's seemingly that there's time, there's other people, there's a you, there's a me. But the moment that it's seen, or the moment that you wake up, no one wakes up, everything is meaningless. Nothing really happened. This is like a continuous, there's no nighttime dream and daydreaming actually. This is just a whole dream with no separation whatsoever and no dreamers whatsoever. So Sulu goes, it's completely hopeless for the apparent me. Yes, the good news is that it's there's no you to be hopeless. It's just hopelessness. Hopelessness is actually unconditional freedom. Because there's no one to hope, nothing to hope for, because it's already free. Nothing to long for, because it's already unconditionally free. Question here. Are we on a path to a world in which it will be possible to decode people's mental processes and directly manipulate the brain mechanism? There's no path, and there's also no world. There's no path, there's no world, there's no universe, there's no you, there's nothing happening. It's just this appearance of something happening, but really nothing is happening. It's nothing being everything. Stillness appearing as movements, silence appearing as these words, but really this is just unconditional freedom, that everything seems to be appearing, but nothing is really happening. Oh, Richard is here. Richard. He's probably wondering why I'm speaking. I don't know if you got hold of Dawn there, Richard, but she lost her power.
Oh no! What time?
Yeah, 30 minutes ago.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I knew that there was, there'd been some kind of a problem.
Yeah.
But it didn't look as if it was going to be that serious. Oh no! Well, you got half an hour, did you?
I did, yeah.
And you've held the fort since then.
Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
But before you start, I just want to announce that Richard and Dawn have a weekend event that's going to be epic this weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday. You could go to nonduality.live if you want to join. It's going to be 4 sessions each day. It's going to be Richard and Dawn together, and then Richard, and then Dawn, and Richard and Dawn together again. Welcome, Richard.
Hi. So I'm just altering my view here and seeing. Here we go. Hi there. Right. Sorry, that's kind of unexpected. I wasn't expecting that. Technology to let us down. Never mind. Shall I do a short introduction, or do you want to go straight as
Please go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead with an introduction.
Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking, as the meeting's already been going, maybe straight to questions. But yeah, I'll just give a short introduction then. Seeing non-duality. I cannot put it any simpler than saying it's seeing that the person who seems to be looking for non-duality or looking for something does not actually exist. That's what we're talking about here. It seems as if there's 2 things we could say in existence. That's duality. It seems as if there's a person or an individual, and that individual seems to be living in something separate from itself. So it seems to be living in a state of separation. And the thing that it seems to be living in, which is separate from itself, is the external world. So in the normal way of being, we could say, in the normal appearance, there's me, who probably feels very solid, very much an individual, moving through an external world with which I have to negotiate. And as we well know, this situation may produce, not in all cases, but may produce a state of, let's call it, profound dissatisfaction, which leads to seeking. I mean, we could sum up that seeking in all sorts of different ways. I think all I'll say is that we seem to be seeking for some kind of secret that will put an end to the pain of separation. That may not be how we think about it. It may not be how we experience, but that at the root is what we want. And this secret seems to reside, it's like it must reside in one or two places. It either must reside out there in the external world, there's something that I can discover out there in the external world which will reveal the secret of existence, or, more likely, particularly if we're spiritual seekers, the feeling will be that the secret is in here, somewhere in here. I'm pointing very deliberately to my heart here, to my chest, because as spiritual seekers, we may very much feel that, that is where we look, and we may meditate, we may do all sorts of things. We all know the kind of, we probably all know the kind of the spiritual seeking. Excuse me, while I cough and get myself a cough sweet here. The tremendous shock, which is sometimes spoken about by speakers when this is seen, when if you like, the illusion of separation is seen through. The tremendous shock that is spoken about is the realization that these two separate things are not two separate things. In other words, there is no out there in which I could find anything, or separate from that, and in here, a person here in whom I can find something, whatever I might conceive that to be, spiritual truth, enlightenment, whatever it might be. The tremendous shock that's sometimes spoken about is the realization, or rather the direct seeing, that this does not actually exist as a separate person, separate from what seems to be out there. In other words, there aren't two things. There isn't an out there and an in here separate from each other. There is just wholeness, oneness, unity, nothing appearing as everything. However we want to describe it, words are always inadequate. And there's just one thing more I'll say, and then I'll bring this hopefully quite short introductory talk to an end. And this in a way maybe is the last thing to say, but it's also the key. In the seeing of this, in the seeing that there is no in here, there was never an individual who was seeking. There was never anything out there or in the heart of this apparent individual to find. In the seeing of that, it may be seen that the nature of everything and nothing is unconditional love. And it seems to be that really brings an end to seeking, because when that's been seen, it's like, well, what else can there be to look for? When everything's been seen as unconditional love, how can there be anything? How can there be anything to search for? So we could sum this up by saying there's no seeker, there's nothing that's sought, That's all an appearance. That appearance may go on, but it's an appearance, it's an empty appearance. And that the true nature, if you like, of this, of everything, of this, is that it's empty and that it's full, and that the fullness consists of unconditional love. Now, when the mind hears this, it may well start racing. It may find that extremely challenging. Many minds do find it very challenging. Two things in particular: the suggestion that there is no actual individual who has something called a life and free will and that kind of thing, and then the suggestion that everything is unconditional love. These two things can be heard as very, very challenging indeed. Okay, I think I'll stop there. I think that's enough for a brief introductory talk. So we will see if there are
There's a question here from Nikki.
discussions.
What would you say about psychics?
What would I say about psychics?
Yes.
Psychics are nothing appearing as psychics. Psychics are a phenomenon, just like every other phenomenon. I mean, every phenomenon is an appearance out of nothing. It's nothing and everything appearing as whatever phenomena arise. So here is a glass of water. In my mouth is a cough sweet. In the kitchen is a kettle. Down the road in number 23 Railway Terrace, there is a psychic. Everything is nothing appearing as all phenomena. Will that do, or do we want to have a secondary question about psychics?
Is that all right, Nikki? Do you want to add to that, or? I think that seems good, so I'll add God's plan.
Well, I think I got off lightly with that one in that case, because, okay.
So really the answer to everything is that there is no answer, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just
you could say that. You could say that when this is seen, questions dissolve and therefore answers are no longer relevant. It's the seeing of this that dissolves the seeker. It's the seeker who's asking questions. Yeah.
so it's more of a lessening rather than a gain.
Absolutely, it's a loss. Yes, it's not a gain, it's a loss. It's a loss of the sense that there was ever a person here who was seeking.
Which is why any sense of ego or specialness is futile.
Well, a sense of specialness or ego, I mean, that means many different things, but if you think of, ego as meaning like my ego, I'm a very special person, so it's just another phenomenon that arises. It's no more and no less relevant than anything else. The one who is seeking, who may see themselves as very special, very holy, they may see themselves as very humble, very unworthy of finding. I mean, these are just thoughts, characteristics, temperaments that arise. Yeah, it's all irrelevant in a way. It's all gloriously and beautifully irrelevant.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Saeed.
Hi there.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, just maybe similar question. When there's a me, there's like feelings and emotions and lots of things that me thinks that me is feeling, me kind of center of all those things. When there is no me, all these emotion or feeling, they're still there, and they must have like a charge of a feeling to them, or like negative or positive, but when there's no me, are they like sensed, or who sent? Are they still sensed that what's happening has a different charge to it, or this feeling is bad or this feeling is good?
Well, this feeling is bad. This feeling is good. These are kind of concepts going through what we think of as the mind, and they may continue, they may arise or not. In terms of feelings, if I take that to mean, for the moment, I'll take that to mean kind of emotional feelings rather than just simply physical sensations. Feelings can, of course, feelings can go on. Some feelings may decrease, others may increase. The only general, well, one of the general things that I would say is that it's quite possible that feelings may get stronger. They may get stronger because one of the things that the kind of separated individual is quite often very good at doing is sort of toning down or suppressing the power of feelings, because the separated individual there may be quite a few feelings that, you know, I don't really want to feel. And so I may have unconsciously learnt ways of suppressing them. I mean, this is why the separated individual may often suffer from depression. It's one reason. So
Yeah,
it's possible, it's quite probable that kind of natural emotions, natural feelings will simply be felt more strongly. Yeah, and will continue to arise.
and what's the difference? Because now they're sensed by a me here. When there's a no me, how the sensing of them
How?
is, when there's a no me, when there's a me, there's like a center that's sensing them, like feeling them for the me. But when there's a no me there, how, what's the difference? Who senses those? Like, is there anyone there?
No.
That's sensing them, or?
No. But you see, whether this has been seen or not, there's actually no one there sensing them anyway. It just may be felt, you know, anger arises, happiness arises, sadness arises, joy arises, and added to that is the feeling that there's a central me here experiencing all of those. So all we're talking about is, you know, the seeing through of that central person. So anger, joy, sadness, happiness may all still arise. As a matter of fact, as a matter, if you like, of experience, it's quite likely that feelings such as those are likely to arise more strongly and to be felt more strongly. But what can happen is there are certain feelings which we could say are manifestations of neurosis. And these are sometimes actually called neurotic feelings, and those might quite probably decrease or possibly die away. So, for example, an example of what might be considered a neurotic feeling is not anger, but irritation. Irritation is what happens to anger when a neurotic person gets in the way of it being fully felt.
Two planes, 3 towers. 2 avions, 3 tours. 2 planes, 3 towers.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting that. I'll just continue. So let's say, let's take an individual who perhaps has been rather irritable. It's quite possible that when this is seen, then long periods of irritability may be replaced by short periods of anger. I mean, anger is a kind of much purer, rawer feeling, and it kind of comes in, it gets processed, it goes out, usually, hopefully, without too many problems. So the kind of neurotic feelings that linger around and last, maybe even for days and days and days, they tend to kind of die away, and we're just left with, if you like, what we could call raw feeling.
2 planes, 3 towers,
and so on.
Yeah. When you're saying irritation, would it be right to say that the me kind of puts a value on what's happening, on feelings, or makes them, when like there's no me, there's no irritation, as there's no value to it, is stronger or weaker, whatever it is, it is what it is. There's no value put by the me on what's happening.
Can I ask? I mean, in a way, what you're saying, absolutely. It's kind of like everything is, if you like, realized. It is simply what's happening. But can I ask you a little bit more what you mean by putting a value on what's happening?
What I'm thinking is like, you get glimpses and there's no me. And I was kind of, when it might be my kind of a state, but what I was thinking, when there's no sense of me, there isn't, there's a not knowing of the feeling, what it is. And then when it happens, this is just what happened.
Yeah.
And when and then just wanted to look deeper into that, what's happening, because there's no, I was thinking maybe by this question, this will kind of resolve the what's sensing the.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm quite getting it. I think we're getting a bit of interruption as well. But
No, yeah, but that was quite. Yeah.
I think what I'm going to say, Fat, and if it misses your point, I'm sorry about that, because I didn't quite get that. But I think what I'm going to say is that in a way, this is a kind of simplification. When this is seen for what it is, there's a kind of simplicity. So then, if we're talking about feelings, which is where we started, everything is simply what it is. So feelings are simply what they are. A feeling of happiness, that's a feeling of happiness. Anger, it's simply anger. The mind doesn't tend to get involved, or certainly doesn't tend to get involved so much, and turn it into a kind of tortured story. So in a way, you could say that everything is simplified.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I kind of thinking.
Yeah, a phrase has just popped into my head. I don't know why, so I'd use it. They're kind of quite a well-known phrase, I think, sometimes. So everything is sanctified. Everything is sanctified. Well, in a way, everything is also simplified.
Yeah.
Complicated stories particularly tend to drop away. And there can be a lot of complicated stories around all sorts of feelings, and they tend to drop away. Getting some interference. I don't know if it's possible to deal with it. I don't know.
I keep on muting them, but they keep on unmuting. So
yeah, just forgot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Someone forgot, so it's all good.
Somebody's speaker's on. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Richard.
What?
Annie, veux du wonky, Annie.
I'm sorry. Can you guys mute? Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Salut ma couille.
I'm gonna mute everyone, and Richard, unmute yourself.
Donc on vous pose la question, la tribune diplomatique internationale, l'hypothèse d'une fraude importante appliquée à quelques États clés le jour du scrutin intercédé. On parle des États-Unis. Mon intime conviction me dit que
there is hacking.
All right, I'm going to mute everyone again.
I think we may have some jokers.
All right, Richard.
There is a clone inside.
I think we may have some jokers out there. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to figure out who it is so I can just kick them out. Just a moment here. Apologies for that.
Marta?
Go ahead, William.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, William. I just wanted to comment, by the way, I'm sure some of you will be aware of this from watching other speakers. There have been occasionally some spectacular interruptions of these meetings by very mischievous people doing extremely naughty things. But obviously, all the hosts do everything they can to keep them out. So I'll just comment on that. Anyway, hi, Pip. Hi, William. Go ahead.
So my question, Richard, is obviously the me coming from the sense that something's missing is thinks what it wants is to get something, like a specific thing, money, liberation, traveling, whatever. And would you say that what's really desired is the end of the need to get?
You could put it that way. I mean, ultimately, what I'd say is that the me cannot know what it. The me cannot consciously know what it really wants, because what it, ultimately, what is desired, but not consciously, is the disappearance of myself, because that ultimately is the, let's call it the only solution. But, an individual who's only ever experienced separation, I can't know what that means. I really can't know what it means. So in a way, that kind of absolutely ultimate, fundamental, base level desire has to get turned into something else. What it will get turned into, we could say, is going to maybe have something to do with, the particular person, the particular individual. So for one individual, or for the same individual, it might be turned into different things at different phases of their life. So, whatever it might be, a fulfilling job, creativity, a lovely relationship, wealth, whatever. But clearly for at least some of us, ultimately, a yearning for some kind of...
Let's talk about Jews.
Usually phrased as as a spiritual, or often thought of as a spiritual solution to what I see as, the problem of being me is going to emerge. I mean, in a way, so we could say in a way that all searching, all seeking, all yearning, no matter what the apparent goal is ultimately really for the disappearance of the self. But there's no way that the separated person can realize that.
Yeah. Because there's such a strong resonance, obviously, listening to this message. And like you said, there's no way for the me to have any idea what that's about. And I assume that was the same when maybe you were a seeker going to meetings with Tony. You probably knew, not like intellectually, but you probably sensed something that was pulling you back, or, but there was just no way of possibly knowing what that collapse would be like.
Oh, absolutely no possible way of knowing what it could be like. But it's a very interesting, you just triggered something off in there when you say, when I was going to Tony, so before that, I was a spiritual seeker. I was going to gurus, learning meditation techniques, doing all sorts of stuff. I'm not putting any of that down. It was, some of it was great fun, and a lot of it, was very good for the person. But for example, when I was going to, my guru, I had a guru for a few years, I thought I knew what I wanted from him. I'm not going to kind of put it into, but I thought I knew what I wanted. Well, it might be called enlightenment, or call it whatever you like, but it would involve, peace. It would involve joy, happiness, all things which I might have experienced in a small way. But what I wanted to do was to experience them in an ultimate way, right? When I learned, when I learned to meditate, I knew, I wanted to experience peace, for example, and, a few other things. I won't labor the point. The point I'm trying to make is that when I first went up the hill in Hampstead to see Tony, I had no idea what I wanted. No idea. I mean, just something happened, an energy happened, which just took my feet up that hill. And I didn't like what I was hearing. I promise you, I really didn't like what I was hearing. And yet I went back over and over and over again. Well, in retrospect, if I go back to my in my, my spiritual seeking days, like the first time I went to meet my beloved guru and so forth, I thought I was an individual who knew what he wanted from this guru figure. But of course, that was also just an illusion. That was just a thought. Actually, that too was simply happening.
Yeah. It's like what you said about you didn't enjoy listening to the, well, not that you didn't enjoy it, but you didn't like what you were hearing. And in a way, it feels like
I was hearing at all. No.
It feels like that a lot of the time for me listening to this. Like it can not always. It can be very painful and obviously challenging. But as you're talking now, there's a feeling of love. Maybe I'm projecting something onto you. I don't know, but it feels like a real freedom from that character that I don't know if that's making sense, but. And there's something that wants that, but obviously, like you said, it's just unknowable what it is. That kind of freedom.
Yeah, it's unknowable what, let's call it an energy, whatever the energy is that brings you here and brings you back over and over again. It brought me back to this over and over again. It's completely beyond comprehension. It doesn't need to be comprehended anyway. It's irrelevant. The mind has all these stories about what its motives are, like my motive for going to the guru. It's just a story. You're probably aware that, people who speak about non-duality often use this phrase. I use it a lot, it's just a story. But in the most obvious way, I'm going to my guru to discover enlightenment or whatever it might be. It's so obviously a story. But the one who's seeking can't experience it like that. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what the story is. The story, if you like, is just what the head's saying about it. The fact is some energy takes those feet up the hill, or some energy brings this person to a meeting. And out of nowhere, a fascination with this arises. Here in the story of time, I'd been on this planet for, I can't remember, something like, I don't know, 60 years before any fascination with this arose. But when it arose, it was like, it just absolutely gripped me. I can't tell you why. It doesn't matter why.
There's something for me that, I suppose this is what seeking is constantly waiting for something to happen, waiting for the next thing. And it is a real physical agitation in my body. Like when it's like, why hasn't this happened yet? Why hasn't that happened yet? Whatever it is to do with, and obviously now it's about the apparent dropping of the me, but why hasn't this happened? Something still hasn't happened. And there's a desperation, I suppose, just for that to drop. And I suppose there'd be a relaxation in not constantly waiting the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I very much relate to that. I very much remember my own desperation and despair. Absolutely. Yeah. And it probably does no good at all. I often quote these lines or these words, and I know it does no good at all, but I can't help quoting them, that, if it's possible to allow relaxation to take place, allow relaxation to take place. I know the hopelessness of that. I heard speakers say things similar to that, and again, with hopelessness. Yeah.
Well, it does seem that the more that I listen to this message, things do relax a lot more around that neurotic drive to get somewhere. But there's also the sense like it's going on for so long. Like it almost feels like bits and pieces of that me construct are dropping, but it just always feels like there's so much more to go. There's so much more dropping away, and yeah.
Well, there isn't. I know it feels like that. I can remember, my own version of that. I can remember my own despair, desperation, and so forth. But there isn't really. It's not. This isn't chipping away at This isn't chipping away at a block of marble to release the liberated human within. But it can feel like that. I know it can feel like that.
And then the moment of the final dropping, if I can use that term, or when the final liberation was seen, or however to word it best, there was just no connection to anything before that would indicate that it was going to happen at that particular moment.
Well, absolutely not. No indication at all. But I think far more importantly, particularly, you know, that kind of initial instantaneous seeing, which is what often happens, not for everyone, but it does often happen. There's no possibility of any kind of clue as to, oh, that's, well, at the time it felt like, oh, that's what the secret is. In actuality, it turns out that's only part of the secret. There's no possibility because the one who is seeking is always there. So the one who is seeking always has to, I mean, I put this in words. I mean, you know, we don't think it in these ways. We're not that naive, but nevertheless, there's something there that kind of absolutely knows and believes that this has got to do with finding something, and either finding something out there in the external world, or it's finding something in here, in this mind, or in this heart, or in this psychophysical system, or whatever. And it isn't. And there's no way that the one who's always felt separate in his seeking can realize that until they're gone. And then it's, oh my God, the one who was always looking for this was the problem. But there's a problem with my saying that, because, you know, if the seeker hears that, they can't help interpreting that as, okay, so what I have to do is get myself out of the way. I can't do that because I don't exist. A non-existent person can't get themselves out of the way. I mean, it really is hopeless. I'll remind you, you know, those three words, you know, hopeless, helpless, and meaningless. The situation is hopeless. We are helpless, and this is without meaning. It doesn't need meaning. So helpless, hopeless, and meaningless. Sum this up. Well, they sum this up. They sum up the seeker's dilemma in a way. The seeker cannot help seeking, and yet the seeker can do nothing about finding. It's a real bummer.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, William. Good to see you again.
Heidi.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Hi. I cannot see you.
Oh.
Now you are here. Hi.
I'm here.
Hi.
I can hear
great.
you.
Right. So yeah, it's touching. It's the first time I'm talking to you now. I heard several videos. I've seen several videos, and I love your energy. It's so. How can I say that? It's so. Okay, I start at the point I died with 2.5 years. I really died then. And the upcoming 50 years I had, I never was in a story. I went out of all these stories. I never did it, but I never was interested in stories like that. And now, in the last 2 years, there were these Zoom meetings where I really came home to see, yes, that's it. There is no story. There never was a story. I always was in my life with being in touch what happened. And sometimes I'm laughing about all what happens in these meetings. And sometimes I'd like to be a fairy tale to touch everyone, to say, let's let go this, but it's not possible to let go this. Yeah, it's not possible, because it is what it is. Yeah, and your energy when you talk about these things is so, it's I'm not good in English.
Take up 2% of the world's population, but commit 45% of sexual assaults against children.
We have the fist. Host, take the fist off.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to thank to Emerson also, that you hold the room. It's not easy to work with this joking people about. But I think no, I do not think. For me, it's clear, and I love to listen and to what you bring with you. That it's so clear to me, not to me. It's clear for all what it is. It is just what it is. It's nothing to think about, because it just happens now in the moment we meet each other. That's what it is. And this makes me absolutely very happy to meet you, to stay in this room now. It is what it is. This is all what it is. And I just wanted to share that. I'm so glad about you and all the people that comes out with these things, because I can see in so many different rooms how people are struggling with their head. They're thinking about, how can I handle this? And I'm so glad about that. I never had to handle this. Never had. I just went out with all what I was ever. And so many times people told me, you're not normal. You're strange. What are you telling? About what are you speaking? And I just said then many times, I don't know it by myself. This just comes out. It is not a thinking that I have. It just comes out. It just falls out of me. And it is what happens. All falls out like this. This is nothing that we can think. Can we think? It just falls out.
Yeah.
And this is really a relief for me, for the person I am, to see, yes, it was ever like it was all the time like this. It was never in a other way. It was all the time just like this. Just like this. Yeah.
It's always been like that for you.
Yeah. It was always like that. Yeah. And my relief is the last 50 years I live now on this earth. I struggled with all this, with all the people that told me you're wrong, you and on and on and on and on. And now the last 2 years, when I find these rooms with Tony and you and Jim and Kenneth and also Emerson, I really come home. Yes, that's it. Absolutely. It's so great. Yeah. I just wanted to share that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I've talked to quite a few people over the years who,
Yeah.
you know, where what you're describing or something like it has been their experience. It's like for some people, it's like that sense of absolute separation that afflicts most of us just never takes place. It, you know, and that can produce, you know, very specific kinds of difficulties. Because other people don't understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You know, you're not taking this as seriously as you ought to be. You know, there's something wrong with you. That kind of response. Yeah. A good few people who have been like that. Yeah. Thank you.
And the best point is now I know that I never had the idea that I was wrong. It was all the time clear for me, this is not wrong. There is no wrong and no right. I'm just the character I am. I just go out. This is all just what comes out. And this is the most, this is so brilliant because every one of us is just brilliant how it comes out. There's nothing is wrong. All what comes out how it comes out. It's just like this. Yeah. And I there's no question.
Well, we could say
no more question, is just love.
I mean, we could maybe describe this as, you know, you've always been living in the natural state. And some people do. I mean, this is kind of, you know, another way of describing this is living in the natural state.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You did today when I was cooking, I was looking into one of your videos and you did this. But now there's Michael. Yeah, great. So you did this, and this is what I do too. I'm out of everything that, but this is a gesture that I love. Thank you. It's so great that you show up and give you out like this. It's great. Thank you. Thank you.
This is for me. It's a remnant of my guru.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love it too. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Hello.
Jim, go ahead.
Hello, Richard.
Hello. Hi.
Calling you from California.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Richard, do you mind if I pick your brains a little bit about therapy?
Well, you can try. You may not get very far, but you have a go if you like. It's not what I'm here for.
Oh. Another show.
Hey, what the fuck, man? What is doing, bro?
Anyway, Richard,
go
are you
ahead.
still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm looking for you on the screen. Hang on a second. Let me get up the speaker screen. I did a little bit of therapy, a couple of years of 12-step stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I've often thought about the way therapy interacts or interconnects or connects or laps over to non-duality. In other words, therapy is all about the me, at least my therapy was. It's about working on the me, trying to salvage a me that was very, very damaged from early childhood. And that worked. In my opinion, that worked. And I've often wondered why it was never brought to me about during those times about getting rid of the me or losing the me or dropping the me, the self, the ego, the Jim, whatever we want to call that. So I found myself wondering what you would have to say about that as a therapist. Now, I don't know if you're still a therapist or not.
Well, I don't practice.
Did you ever attempt to transition any of your clients from working on themselves to losing the self?
Well, I worked in education, so although I did a lot of training in therapy, what I would call what I did was sort of psychoeducation. I kind of tried to bring it into the education system with adults. And that was very, very much about the story. You know, that was very much about, yeah, because that's in a way what most therapy is about, isn't it? About, you know, finding ways to improve the story, or as it's sometimes called, making the prison of being a person more comfortable. You know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if I understood your question right, let me just go back, and if I haven't got this right, tell me. But if what you're asking is why do therapists rarely bring into therapy anything to do with the fact that, you know, we are not we are not people, we are not individuals, it's because I would think probably very, very few therapists see this. You know, most therapists don't have any kind of grasp on this, either directly or, you know, or indirectly. So, you know, the one clear thing that I say about therapy, and I've said this often, is that if you're drawn to non-duality, if there's been any kind of seeing at all, but maybe not even that, just if something in, you know, our heart or mind draws us to non-duality and we want to see a therapist, it's really best if we can find a therapist who does, I'm not really quite sure how to put it, who does know about non-duality, well, preferably more than that. I mean, if possible, a therapist who does see this. That's really the one really clear thing that I would say linking non-duality and therapy. You know, if we are attracted to this, if we have a feel for it, and particularly if there's been an awakening, if we go to a therapist, try and make sure that we see a therapist where there is a feel for this at least, because otherwise they might psychopathologize us.
Yeah, I had some what I would call glimpses and awakenings when I was doing therapy, but it was never about losing myself or losing Jim. It was more or less like coming into peace, or even into wholeness or completeness, but it was still a personal experience. And I thought it was the ultimate until it faded out about a day later.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So a couple of days ago, I lost the self. The self dropped.
Right.
My self dropped. It was kind of interesting and subtle. And at first I thought, wow, man, this is it. And so I don't want to go through this whole story because it's kind of long, but right after that happened, I could see, or at least I understood, that everything simply happens. There's only happening. Nobody's doing it. Nothing is doing it. It's just simply happening. And I was sitting at my desk when this occurred. So I thought, I'm going to test this. So I went outside and got on public buses and began riding around. And I kept seeing the same thing everywhere. The bus was happening. The driver was happening. Nobody was driving the bus. It was amazing. And I thought, man, this is the ultimate, because it was obvious that there was nobody there. I can't describe the me that was still there. It's hard to describe that. It wasn't really a me. It was like a presence, okay? And so now this has been a couple of days ago. So that whole thing has since faded and slowly gone away.
Mm.
But what's interesting about it now is when this me comes back, which does quite a bit, I now am able to see it as not real. It's almost like, oh, it's you again, Santa Claus. It's like Santa Claus. I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. Even if I saw if Santa Claus walked in my house, I'd still see it as some guy dressed up looking like Santa Claus. And that's kind of what's happening with this experience now. When the self or the me or the I returns in certain ways, it's like, I don't believe in it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm up there where you guys are, where you and Dawn and Tony Parsons are, but it's a glimpse into something, and it's wonderful because it's still there. It's like the realization that this me or this self that I've always thought was absolutely totally real and in serious trouble, which is why I did the therapy, is actually like a phantom. It's like, okay, you too. It's subtle stuff, and I don't want to labor it because the story could go on forever. But it's nice. Oh, that was the other thing. When I was out riding these buses and things happened. Even some scary stuff happened on the bus. And the thing that I noticed was I wasn't taking it personally. You notice without a me there, I didn't have the reaction like, oh my God, this is happening to me. And I made some mistakes. I did some things wrong, but everything seemed to just turn out just right. It was eerie, like as if life was just running the way life wanted to run.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to not be able to take stuff personally. I've heard these slogans and these cliches from all the speakers about there's no me and you won't be. Well, I was having that experience. Like, I made a mistake. So what? It was so groovy. Yeah, and the realization that everything is simply happening was just always there. Like whatever I did, it was just happening. Whatever happened was just happening. It's absolutely astonishing. And I'm getting really comfortable with that whole thing about happening. Yeah. Even this sitting here talking like this, rattling is happening.
Yeah, they may sound like cliches, but they're not. They're just literal descriptions of what's seen. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all I got to say. That's the end of my story. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Michael, go ahead. Michael? Go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Michael, you're still muted.
Michael? Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. God's plan.
Hey again, I just have two things to share that have like helped me, so to speak. So you can think of non-duality as like a circle, and you're at one point here, and non-duality is at the equal but opposite point there. And it's as if we're running, trying to get towards it, but it too is going the opposite way, running, trying to get towards us. But we're doing that, not knowing that if we were to just stop, it would reach us back around on the circle and it would stop at us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an image. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's accurate or not, it helps me,
Okay.
Another thing that I found that helps me a lot is if you think about it mathematically, how 0 cancels everything out. You can think of yourself as, well, if I just do nothing, if I remain at 0, things will be canceled out.
Yeah, well, I think the obvious thing that comes up to me about that is that, I can't do nothing. The person may think, yeah, I'll just do nothing, and then that gets me closer to if this is nothing giving rise to everything, if I do nothing, that will get me closer. But I can't do nothing.
Right.
When I did say earlier that this is hopeless. It's a hopeless situation we're in, and I really want to reinforce that. This is an hour meeting, and if anybody goes away remembering anything, well, the first thing is I might be a bit surprised, but the second thing is I might say, that's the thing to remember. As far as the individual is concerned, as far as the one who may feel themselves to be searching, may feel they've given up searching, but as far as the individual is concerned, we are in a hopeless case. It's hopeless.
So So that goes back to just nothing, really, nothing. You can't try to manipulate. You can't try to be in the moment. You can't try to grasp. You can't try to hold on. Because ultimately that is the root of the suffering, you know?
Well, or you can try to do all of those things, and many of us do. Many of us try to be in the present, try to hold on, try to let go. I just come back to that. For now, I'm going to rest on that mantra. You know, it doesn't matter. It's all hopeless. It's all just happening anyway. I can sit here and try to do my spiritual practice. I can sit here and try to give up my spiritual practice. It's still me. It's still the separated me trying to control things. It's kind of wonderful, it's beautiful, and it's also hopeless.
Sometimes it makes me spontaneously cry, or I'll just get these like laughing fits, and it's like laughing at how beautiful and simple it was the entire time.
Yeah, yeah. And laughter is often reported when this is seen. There's a lot of occasions or examples where this is seen, and it is reported that there was a lot of laughter. Yeah, yeah.
I have one last thing. I want to know if anyone else experiences these almost frightening, like they almost appear like alien. I don't want to say frequencies or vibrations, but it's like that. It's like you feel it and it's almost frightening in a way. Has anyone felt this?
I mean, I have nothing to say about that. I mean, phenomena arise. I mean, if I do have or did have something to say about it, it would just be that phenomena arise. All phenomena are nothing arising as everything.
They just showed the rapper XXX Tentacion. I'm sure not too many of you guys are familiar, but I think these little gestures are...
Yeah, go on.
These little jester archetype figures are here too as an appearance.
Well, whatever happens, happens. Whatever arises, arises. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Right. If you look up the artist they were just showing metaphorically and metaphysically, he actually was a really deep figure.
Okay.
Not that it's uber relevant, but I'll leave it off on all of that. Thank you.
We could say that everything is equally relevant and equally irrelevant, you know.
Yeah, because it's all just arising.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Alejandro, please go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm good. How are you? No, have you muted? You're muted.
Okay. So sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought when I was about to join this meeting, which I was very excited about, and I thought, well, I will have so many questions, but since this happened, and I did have some thoughts clarified, now today I feel like I have less and less questions.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's not much to talk. I mean, it's amusing and it's nice and it's fun to talk about this, and then I keep on going back to it. But I don't have questions anymore because they answer themselves. The questions, just having the question is like, yeah. But I still have a bit of an issue. My daughter, she's 3 years old, almost 4, and she will sooner or later start asking, about the afterlife and, where did the dog go, stuff like that. And the thing is, I know exactly, not that I know exactly where it goes, but I have the sight, the certainty. Like, yeah, but I cannot explain that, obviously. And I don't know how deep should I go into that with her. I don't want her to make. I don't want to make her socially unhappy. So she'll go around saying stuff like, "Yeah, my mother says." But, you know. So, do you have any advice or any idea?
Well, I mean, all that was coming to me, to be honest, when you were saying that, was trust yourself. You know, relax about it and trust yourself. And when the time seems right, trust yourself to say whatever feels right. I mean, it's a little bit like, I'm not sure if this is what you mean, but maybe you don't want your daughter to be the one who goes to class and tells all the others that Santa Claus doesn't exist. Perhaps, I don't know. What do you
Or
mean?
herself.
Well, that's another thing. I would let that look after itself, definitely. I mean, I've not brought up many children. I brought up 2, which is not a lot. But I tend to feel like if you are of good heart, which you obviously are, I think these things will look after themselves. I wouldn't worry too much about hypotheticals like that.
Oh, right. Because I was having a conversation, if you can call it that, with her today on the car, and she was asking me about houses and things that were appearing. Children are amazing because they do tend to see things the way we are talking about now, like getting to how things appear and phenomena. They really are like that. Things happen like, and she was like, this house, and there was a plane, an airplane, in the sky, and she was saying like, oh, what? Why the airplane? I was saying, yeah, because people need to get from here to there. And she would say, but it goes very slow.
Yes.
I know for a fact it doesn't.
I know you do.
But she was right, because the way the airplane appeared, it was going very slow. It was pointless as an experience in the moment, not as a theory or fact when I'm in the airplane. It's just as it is right now. It's stupid to get into a plane to go from there to there. It's taking forever. Whereas for us, it's taking very much faster to get, So yeah, I wish she could stay that way so I could explain these things to her, or I don't know. I don't know if I'm making a point, but kids are, I don't want to say things that she will catch me up on those. It's like, and if I'm too honest, like, this is how I feel, or there's no me feeling, she might, freak out. But I'm going to trust you, and I'm trusting myself, my future self, which is still.
I mean, we could go into this, very deeply and in all sorts of ways, but I think basically, that thing about the planes, I was just thinking, gosh, that could be an opportunity for a lesson on astronomy and mathematics and gravity and all sorts of things. But maybe, did you say she's 3? 3 years old?
3.5. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too young for any of that. But I mean, none of that really matters. I would say, really, all that really comes to me about what you're asking is trust yourself.
Okay, I'm new still in this. I think I can trust myself, right? Yeah. Okay. My husband, he's going to freak out.
Why will he freak out?
It's like, we're telling nonsense to the girl rather than telling her there's nothing. Well, he's right about that, but it's a bit agnostic, or so he thinks. Well, most people think that death is the end of, like, death is something. He thinks it's the end of a story. It is right, it's the end of the story, but
Trust yourself, and whatever is clear at 3 will become clear at 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. It's a one. I mean, I brought, in the story of a character called Richard, I brought 2 of them up myself. It's a wonderful, wonderful adventure.
Okay.
Nothing, as you know, I'm sure there's nothing like it.
Okay, that was it then. Richard, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Richard. Again, if you guys want to join, you can go to nonduality.live for the weekend event this weekend. We're not going to have a breakout room this time due to interruptions. I can't. Um, that was hilarious. I'll definitely check with Zoom. Always in your meetings, Richard.
Sorry, ever so say that again.
In your meetings, apparently something like this happens.
Is it something of a well? I have to say, it's only happened how many times? Twice, I think. Yeah, no, 3 times. It's happened 3 times. So maybe it's just me. I know it's not just me because I saw. I'm not going to go into the details, but I did see what happened to Robert fairly recently.
Oh,
so
no.
it definitely is not just me that it happens to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone. You can unmute yourself, and hopefully see you guys this weekend. And thank you, Richard.
Okay,
Thank you, Richard.